manufacturing, dimension, and as far as the region is concerned, focusing on plastics and also clean drinking water or bottled water, and then mattresses, among others. Madam Speaker, part of what the company wants to do is to ensure that they can provide.
Please tell us what your issue. Don't tell us the profile of the company.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Processing aggregates or stones, translating the stones into aggregates and stone dust. And Madam Speaker, the company has procured stones, and my in-laws ministry.
In the Honorable Charles ministry?
Yes, Honorable Charles ministry, minister's ministry. And thank you, Mr. Minister, for giving us the bridges and some of the raw materials that needed to facilitate the construction of those bridges, Madam Speaker, were borders. So the minister gave contracts to companies that went to our communities and then just illegally extracted stones to be used in the facilitation of the bridge construction. Madam Speaker, the stones belong to the company that I've just mentioned, Bukonzo West Sustainable Development Industries. And Madam Speaker, the companies were told by the vendors, the people that sold the stones, that the stones do not belong to the community but to Bukonzo West Sustainable Development Industries. I remember before the minister went to commission, Mr. Minister told you that your companies, the companies that you contracted, had not paid for the stones. But I take it in good faith, Mr. Minister, you went and commissioned the bridges. Madam Speaker, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Works and Transport, when we communicated to him, he asked for clarification in terms of the sale agreement, the minute that permitted the town council to sell the stones to the company, and also the receipt, and then also demanded for the sale agreement. Madam Speaker, in the interest of time, the letters I will lay, all of them. The town council, Charumba town council, responded to the PSC's communication and provided all of the requirements in terms of the sale agreement, the receipt for the purchase of stones, and then also the minute. Madam Speaker, we sent a valuer to determine how many or the extent or quantity of stones that were extracted. Madam Speaker, it required that 6 acres of stones. My prayers, Madam Speaker, Speaker, in the interest of time. Give us your prayers. Yes, in the interest of time, Madam Speaker, if it pleases you, the company and the board and management of the company request that if it is possible, you assign the relevant committee to undertake an investigation into this. Madam Speaker, as I speak right now,
Honorable Chero, I want you to get in touch with Honorable Atkins on his issue and see how you resolve it together with the Attorney General. Next item, handle that issue. Next item.
Item 3.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Motion seeking leave of Parliament to introduce a private member's bill, the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Bill 2023.
Honorable members, on 5th May 2023, the Constitutional Court annulled the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substance, that is Control Act 2015, which among others prohibited the sale and the use of several narcotic drugs in the country. Attorney General, this is your issue. Don't be taken up by the arrow boy. The annulment of this law was based on the absence of quorum in the House. And this is where my issue comes in now. As the two whips, one whip from my left and my right, you should always make sure that members are in the House when we are passing all the bills. And court has even instructed us to always ascertain the quorum before we pass any bill. Members, we need to be mindful that we are representatives of the people and we must do what is required of us. This is your office. Your office is not moving around the town because I know you're not in your constituencies. The annulment of this law was attributed to quorum. So at all times we need quorum in this House. I beg of you, members, that kindly be in the House. Let's not waste taxpayers' money. And we are here to represent the voice. We are the voice of the voiceless out there. So if we cannot be here, then where are we? Whereas currently the provision of the narcotic drug policy, the provisions can be handled by the National Drug Policy and Act of 1993, but this cannot be relied on all. We've been making laws for all the other laws like anti-homosexuality and corruption, whereas they can be handled by other laws. So it is upon us to ensure that we have a law processed in this House to replace what was annulled in the House. And the fact that Article 94(4) of the Constitution allows a private member to bring in a bill, and that's the reason why Honorable Ausuman Basalirwa and Honorable Komakech of Aru have brought in this bill. They've come in to introduce a bill because the other one was annulled. Do we have anything from government to that effect?
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, you have actually put the record correct. The government of Uganda, the executive side of government, together with Parliament, moved to introduce the Narcotics, Drug and Psychotropics Substance Control Act of 2016 and passed it here. The court nullified that because there was no quorum. Clearly, the government and the executive are interested in this bill. Arrangements are being made to reintroduce this bill at the appropriate time before the House. In the meantime, like you said, the matter is any cases of drugs are being handled under existing law, and we do not have a real gap at this point other than the issue of the extent of the penalty. So I beg your indulgence, Right Honourable Speaker, to allow the executive, the Minister of Internal Affairs is already working on having this bill reintroduced at the appropriate time. Clearly, there was no fault on the part of the executive because the executive did bring this bill and it was only struck down because of lack of quorum. I beg to submit.
Honorable members, we have had bills here where a private member introduces a bill and where we find that it has financial implications, government comes in to take over or comes in to work together with the private member. And on that note, Attorney General would request that we allow the private member to introduce, and maybe that's what will make you work faster. Much as we have other laws, but they are limited.
Right Honourable Speaker, this judgment was delivered on the 5th of May. The Attorney General's chambers and government has 14 days within which to study the bill, its implication, and then come back and report. Right Honourable Speaker, for Parliament to start moving on bills of Parliament, or rather on decisions of the court, before the Attorney General has taken time to address its mind on the matter, is going to cause unnecessary angst. I pray, Right Honourable Speaker, that this bill was introduced by government. Government brought this bill, followed it through, and was only struck down because of lack of quorum. Government is still interested in bringing this bill.
There's a clarification from Sarah.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I was in this House, but also then serving as Minister of State in the Ministry of Health. And we supported this bill, Right Honourable Speaker, supporting the Ministry of Internal Affairs to have this bill passed. Actually, it was the health team that worked through, the technical team that worked through to have this bill passed. Right Honourable Speaker, if government is really interested in this bill, from the time the President assented to this bill, I have been pushing Internal Affairs, the ministers, to have the regulations so that this particular law can be, operationalized. There have not been any regulations for the last 7 years since this bill was passed. If you are really interested in dealing with these issues of the narcotic drugs and so on, why then have you failed to have the regulations? So there is, for me, Right Honourable Speaker, we can give the Attorney General time because he may appeal, but, Right Honourable Speaker, there is a need for us to ensure that we have timelines for ministries to bring regulations. Otherwise, the laws we pass here may never be operationalized without laws. Like the road fund. We've been talking about the lack of regulations for the road fund. So, Right Honourable Speaker,
thank you.
that is really the clarification.
Councillor,
if you are interested, why didn't you bring the regulations?
Councillor Isivambi.
Thank you.
And I want you to be mindful of Article 94.4 of the Constitution.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. I would like to agree with the Attorney General that the moment the court declared this law null and void, there is no law to talk about as a private member's bill now. So we have to go through the entire processes as if there is no law. So I would beg this House to be...
Council, we are acting like there is no law.
Yes.
That's why he's coming to introduce.
Yes,
he's introducing a private member's bill.
I would suggest, Right Honourable Speaker, that should be left in the hands of the Attorney General at that stage to be reintroduced through that process.
There's an order. There's an order on you.
Order, Madam
Honourable members, I also want you to be mindful of your powers. Do not allow your powers to be suffocated. You're going to allow your powers to be wrapped. If you allow government to take over your powers of introducing a private member's bill, then what is your role here? Why are you seated here? Okay?
Madam Speaker, I had put Honorable Sivambi on order because he shocked me as if he's saying our mandate is not to make the laws of this country. And moreover, the bill being introduced with as a private member's bill is very timely that it has come in the time that Uganda youth are burning with narcotic and drug substances. That has caused a very big mental health problem to this country. Madam Speaker, and bad enough, Honorable Sivambi is talking, and the Attorney General, in the mental health month, whereby drugs have caused a big depression and stress to the young people.
There's a clarification
I really
from
don't
the
know whether
mover.
Honorable Sivambi is in order, really, to give away his mandate to executive as if he's not a member of Parliament.
There's a clarification from the mover.
Right Honourable Speaker, I belong to a forum called Parents Against Narcotics. That's where my interest lies. And I've been a member of that forum for the last 12 years. As if, I've been married for the last 15 years with the 2 wives. But Right Honourable Speaker, where our concern and interest as parents lies is precisely not because government is not interested. No. It is because of the history. Right, Honourable Speaker, I have another private member's bill that I'll be introducing, if you give me leave. The challenge we've been having, learned Attorney General, is that courts make pronouncements on pieces of legislation and you keep quiet. I'll give an example. The Muhanga Chivumbi case is here. For the last 12 years, you were quiet. So when courts make pronouncements, and some of us who have interest in this matter come on the floor, we do it in good faith, but also because of history. The other day I was here with you. We were discussing the Law Reform Miscellaneous Provisions Act. And we were looking at many pronouncements of court at both Constitutional Court and Supreme Court where you kept quiet. So because there is no guarantee, that action will be taken, and yet there is a problem, that drives us or compels us to come on this floor and exercise our mandate as private members. The bill I am talking about, which again I will seek the indulgence of the Speaker, of law reform, also has that direction, that courts have made pronouncements and you have been quiet. So I have no problem, learned Attorney General, if there is a guarantee that action will be taken, and timely action. Otherwise, if you keep quiet, there is no reason why we should not be moving.
Honorable members, we need to move. When you look at the legislative agenda that we got on State of Nation Address, we had 62 bills to be brought during this financial year. And Honorable Attorney General, I want you to bear with us. We should be seen to be a parliament that can perform. We had 62 bills to be brought to the House. Now we have only passed 15 bills. Out of the 15 bills, you cannot count 7. The 7 are tax bills, which are given. So we have only passed 8 bills from government. The rest of the bills that we have passed are from private members. I want kindly request that can we allow Honorable Asuman and Honorable Aru Komakech present their introduce, and then if it necessitates, you take it over. Government, just a minute, let me.
Right, Honorable Speaker. There is no legislation that has been passed by private members here without the participation of government. So
there is introduction and bringing. Who brings?
Yes, Right, Honorable Speaker. Right, Honorable Speaker, I do appreciate where Parliament is coming from. We seek your indulgence to allow us to introduce this bill. This bill was introduced by government. Government is interested in this bill, and government will take timely action on this matter, Right, Honorable Speaker. If we introduce a private member's bill, we have to work backwards, try, reconcile them and etc. Yet we have done all this work. Right, Honorable Speaker, we beg that you allow us, we'll take timely action on this matter as government. We'll take timely action and come back to you.
There is a procedure from Honorable Semoju.
Madam Speaker, about 3 weeks ago, many in this parliament presented the Honorable Chiwanu Kachirio as the best Attorney General ever. I did not join the chorus. I said, wait a minute. Now the same parliament, and the Honorable Asman was one of those who were praising him. Sorry, I withdraw. I withdraw. So, Madam Speaker, the procedure issue I am raising, I want Madam Speaker to persuade you and the mover to give the Attorney General, who many in this parliament said is the best, I did not participate, a deadline, either 10 days or after 14 days. If he doesn't bring, then the Honorable Asman brings, such that we will now accuse him of failure. I am going to be hesitant to support my younger brother, and the Honorable Asman knows I support him, and I like that vigilance. Because I participated in making this bill both at a committee level. I used to be a member of the Committee on Defense, and we moved the whole country with the minister responsible. So, Madam Speaker, I want to persuade you and persuade the House and the Honorable Asman that we allow the Attorney General 2 weeks. If he's not here, we move, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, I have agreed with Attorney General that Asumani introduces the bill and he will take over. He will work with him to have the bill worked on. No, Attorney General. He is not forced. We've agreed.
Right, Honorable Speaker, you have guided that the bill be introduced. However, the record, like members are saying, should show that we still needed to bring this bill as a government bill. And right, Honorable Speaker, Honorable colleagues.
Anyway, now that you're not ready, can we go to the next item? And I'm giving you Thursday to bring that bill. Members, the bill is already there. It's just a matter of him taking over.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Speaking the active role of the Land Attorney General in this House and the duty he owes to the country, on the 28th sitting of the third meeting of the second session of this House, particularly on 19th of April 2023, members raised matters on the uncollected gold taxes, to which this House debated and the Speaker directed the Minister of Energy to present a report on these taxes. In the subsequent sitting, Right Honourable Speaker, the House even moved a motion to investigate these gold exports. I'm aware, Right Honourable Speaker, that we're expecting the report of the Minister today. It's not on the other paper. But also, I'm aware that the people who are objecting to paying of tax even when they had committed went to court and even obtained interim orders. Will the Land Attorney General inform this House and the country the steps he has taken to vacate these interim orders, or have the matter resolved in one way or another 2 months after the interim orders were obtained, Right Honourable Speaker? Recently, Right Honourable Speaker, I'm also aware that the statutory instrument upon which we are supposed to pay these taxes expires now in the next 30 days or thereabout, and no steps are being taken to have the taxes paid or have this matter properly explained, Right Honourable Speaker. These are the issues, Right Honourable Speaker, that make this House look a bit flimsy yet very serious, a House or Parliament, Right Honourable Speaker. So will the Land Attorney General explain the steps is taken or how far is gone to, 1, to ensure that the taxes are collected, 2, to vacate the interim order, but also 3, the report of the Minister, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Attorney General.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable Lop. 1, we are appearing in court to pursue the government position. An interim order does not take away the tax obligation. it just stays that obligation for that time. So we are working on the case, and we have to work within the schedule of government. Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of collection of taxes is a matter of administration of tax. The moment the tax has been set, the person who is obligated to pay the tax will be required to pay that tax. And even if a person defaults on paying that tax, there are procedures to be followed to pay the tax, to recover the tax. Right Honorable Speaker, the issue of gold has been discussed extensively. The issue of the tax was in the law. Parliament then allowed for the amendment to be done in the new Mining Act, and that is where the instrument was coming from. However, there are two schools of thought on that issue. Some people claim they shouldn't be paying the tax because it's too high, others claim otherwise. However, once the tax is in the law, it's payable, and the recovery of the same must be undertaken by the tax authority. And even if they were to have a remission of the same, there are procedures that are set by law. So Right Honorable Speaker, I don't think any member should be worried here. Once the law is in place, the tax is payable, and if it is to be remitted, there must be a procedure followed to get to that. But I will be here, I think, Right Honorable Speaker, you did rule that a debate will be had on that matter, but that's
Yes.
Quickly off the cuff, the answer.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Honourable Speaker, it's not that we are just unnecessarily being insistent. I'm aware government is struggling to raise revenue to finance the budget. The same government vividly reluctant to correct taxes. Honourable Speaker, there's a reason why we are insisting that the minister comes here to make a report. There's a reason why you have a government minister charged with that duty. And the Lands Attorney General speaking legalese does not help the cause of collecting that tax, Right Honourable Speaker. We still demand, Right Honourable Speaker, that you order the minister to be here and present a report.
Attorney General, we had even asked for the SI that was used to exempt the tax on gold.
Right Honourable Speaker, and in the coming days, I'm presenting a report on marble export without paying any tax, Right Honourable Speaker. So the Right Honourable General should be here, they put on notice that it also ask the Minister for Energy that we also shall demand for a report on paying of taxes on marble that is being exported from Karamoja.
Thank you. Honorable Attorney General, can we have the Minister in the House to come and present the concerns of Parliament?
Right Honorable Speaker.
The exempt of 600 billion, that is a lot of money. It can pay salary for a whole year for teachers.
Right Honorable Speaker, I can say here without any fear of contradiction that any such in the laws of Uganda will not find an exemption to paying tax on gold. So
okay, can we have a report from?
I trust I will pass on the message to the minister and have them come and make the report on that.
Thank you. Next item.
Item 4, Bill second reading, the Traffic and Road Safety Amendment Bill 2023.
Honorable members, this bill has been stood over for 2 times. The first one was on 4th May, and the next one was on 10th May, pending the clarification from the Minister of Works and the Attorney General. Now, can I invite the Minister of Works to make a clarification on what was required? The chair had presented his report. The minority report had also been presented. We're only due to go to committee of the whole house. So can we have a clarification on the difference between a badge and a professional driving permit, and why you are introducing a professional driving permit to replace a badge, how viable it is, and why the introduction? The House, I hope that's what we needed. Yes. And let's be brief. We must finish all the bills this morning before we go to supply in the afternoon.
Right Honourable Speaker, my response here is a little lengthy, but allow me just to go to what we intend to cure by introducing the professional driving permit as opposed to the badge. Right Honorable Speaker, the members asked what is the relevance of the professional driving permit or PRDP to a driver who already had a driving permit. Section 45 of the Traffic and Road Safety Act 1998, as amended, require a person who wishes to drive a PSV or goods vehicle for commercial purposes to possess a badge in addition to the driving license. The PRDP is an equivalent of the badge prescribed under Section 45 of the Act as explained. The purpose here of replacing the badge by the, I beg your pardon, by the PRDP is for purpose of harmonization. In our region today, the professional driver's permit. So what we have done is to replace that, is to put that now in place. So the badge, all the badges have been, all the drivers who have been driving our public vehicle, like buses, apart from the license, there is something that they give, and my minister has been issuing, so that it's very easy for us to track you. But it has been a local arrangement within Uganda, and therefore it was not recognized in the region. So what we are trying to do is to just harmonize, remove this badge, put the PRDP. It's the same thing. It is free. It does not cost our people any money. It is the ministry that will be issuing. But so that if a driver goes, for example, to Kenya, to Tanzania, within the region, he will be in tandem with what happens in the sub-region. So there is nothing that changes at all.
So on top, if you remove the badge now, you will require a member to have a professional driving permit. What do drivers have now?
What the drivers have now is the driver's license and the badge.
What is the difference between the driver's license and a professional driving permit?
Professional driving permit is just a, wow, how do I put it? How do I want to put it? Let me put it this way. You have a license. It's like you have gone to the law school. Mm-hmm. Now when you go to the law school, then you come out, you go to LDC, so that you now can practice. For you to drive a vehicle of a certain caliber, you are already having a driver's license, but you will get a badge to make you qualify for us now. That's what has been happening.
Order.
Clarification.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for giving way. Honorable Minister, when I get a driver's license, there are classes there. I thought those classes show which type of vehicle I am supposed to drive. So what is this again? Because I thought that was already covered under the driver's license.
The classes are there, Madam Speaker. What we indicate here is that as a country, we introduce the badges so that we can be able to track you. We can be able to know that you are driving this caliber, this capacity of a vehicle. So we have been doing that. Now the PRDP
information.
That should not be chorus.
Yes. Let me hear from Nathan first.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think the minister is confusing Parliament.
You know, Honorable Nathan owns buses.
We are to use the badges because our drivers were fond of giving the buses to stand boys and others. We said they should have a badge which should be big enough to be put behind him so that the passengers can know this is the person whose picture appears here and is the driving us. And in case he causes an accident, that badge would be removed. You must have a badge to drive a bus. it had reduced the accidents. But you are confusing the professional and what. No, 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 no. It was meant for that purpose. And if you want to remove it, you know, it's a problem because it helps the people. Even in the taxis, no one would, the tanboy would not drive a minibus. It would be a bus, a driver entitled to drive that would drive that bus. I thank you.
Can I hear from, before you come in, can I hear from the owner of the minority report, Jonathan? Then I come back to...
Honorable Speaker, there are two reasons being advanced by the Minister. Is that a professional badge will take you in the region. I have here a driving...
Not a professional badge, professional driving license.
A professional driving permit. I have here a driving license as it is issued. This driving license permits me to drive in Uganda, East Africa, and COMESA. So what's the essence of another professional permit to take me to the same
And
territory?
that driving permit gives you a class of vehicles that you should drive.
And this driving license is well categorized for saloon, for PSV, for trucks, for whatever. They are categories and in the law. And the payments are different. So now this professional thing they are talking about, the other issue is advancing, is that, so the territory one falls apart. This one takes you through the East African region. And it can't take you to drive in London. You cannot drive in Dubai with this license. Even if you give me a professional one, I will have to go to London and get a driving license. Secondly, in other countries, this is digitalized. If I keep on offending, points are reduced, and it can be withdrawn. If you want to go modern way, digitalize this driving license. It will solve the problem you want to address. Just go digital with the driving license. It will remove all your issues that you intend to cure. The other one, Honorable Nathan has explained very clearly. A badge is for purposes of accreditation. Just to accredit is that, but another permit that our people will pay for is extremely unfair and uncalled for.
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Madam Speaker, I think there was an oversight on the side of Parliament. When this bill was proposed, it had nothing related to taxation, but it was bundled together with the tax bills, and that's how it found itself before the Committee of Finance. Ordinarily, it should have gone to the Committee of Physical Infrastructure, which would have examined it and reported accurately. But that notwithstanding, Madam Speaker, the badge was introduced because at that time in the law there was no provision to allow the authorities to revoke a driving permit. That time they called it a driving permit. So anyone who had possessed a driving permit license to drive a PSV was fit enough to go and drive a bus or a taxi. And if they committed any offense, only courts of law had the authority at that moment, at that time, to cancel. The Transport Licensing Board that time, that now has been changed into the new law, did not have the authority. So they introduced the badge as a control mechanism, so that even if you retain your license to drive a bus, if you don't have a badge, no employer, bus owner would be able to give you their buses. You know the checkpoints in Buhama, in Matuga, and in Kireka. That is the purpose of checking the badge. So even if I am licensed to drive a bus, I don't have a badge. If I reach there, the police would arrest me. That was the purpose. Now, when we amended the law here, we introduced under the Traffic and Road Safety Act these new categories, which conforms to international standards of the driving licenses. By that action alone, the badge falls. There is even no need right now to have the badge. What we should now be concentrating on is to assess the driver's competencies before the IOVs to drive a particular category of vehicle. Once the IOV satisfies that you are actually competent to drive the bus, it doesn't matter whether you are now driving the one filled with passengers or the one filled with goods. Because if you have a skill to drive a bus which has 9,000 cc, Even if that bus is now transporting something else, it is still a bus. There is no difference there. So I think the confusion came, and I wanted to suggest, Madam Speaker, that this matter be referred back to the Committee of Physical Infrastructure to examine the policy implication of the proposal in the bill. I beg to submit.
Thank you. Honorable members, when you look at all and you hear all this, there is a policy shift which we need really to address. Can I hear from infrastructure, then Akig?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Indeed, in support of what Honorable Nathan has said and Honorable Jonathan Odur, the law is already there. When they were drafting the Roads Act 2019 and the amendment of the Traffic Act 1998 as amended, they forgot to change the badge. It was left there. It was an omission. And in that law, they put a provision for the professional driver's permit. And indeed, in that law, there is also the provision of the demerit point system. The demerit point system will be a digital system which will help to track the driver's driving profile or competence, especially for the PSVs and the heavy cargo drivers. So indeed, Right Honorable Speaker, it was an omission, they left it there, but also in the law which we enacted here, we put, we forgot to remove it.
So do we send it back to you for harmonization?
Right Honorable, there is no, we just have to go and approve. I'm just providing a clarification. It is an amendment which that time was left there. They forgot to change the name from badge to professional driver's permit. And indeed, as per the ISO standards, it is the professional driver's permit which has the digital enhancement to track the driver's profile. Thank you.
Honorable members, I want you to be very calculative on what you say. You forgot. Akig.
Right Honorable Speaker, actually I'm surprised the minister is not taking advantage of what we passed, because we said we need to go digital. We need to track the bad drivers by having permits that can be tracked using technology, intelligent technology. Now, I don't know why the minister is talking about badges. We are talking about meeting the international standards such that we can be trusted even when we go to Europe. So what we need is to improve our systems, go digital, and actually we had even talked about the number plates. So all these are regulations which actually you have made, but I don't know why you are not implementing. Because the whole aim is to see how do we reduce the death on our roads. Because many people are dying and it is difficult to track. For instance, these drivers from Kenya last year, they were the biggest cause, those big trucks, they were the biggest cause of death on our roads. And then when they run to Kenya, we cannot trace them. And Madam Speaker, URA has got already a system where they track.
So what are you suggesting?
So I'm suggesting...
Let's look for solutions.
I'm suggesting that we must speed up the implementation of the professional driver's licenses that are digitalized as fast as we can.
Let me finish that then.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. I see two issues here, and I want to suggest a solution. The point that the Honorable Nathan Byanyima of Bukanga made, it is in the law, but for me I think it is an administrative measure. The trouble I see, and the Attorney General can help, is for you having a law where you want even the administrative issues handled. Because if we take the line, then tomorrow you will come here and make a proposal that now a uniform be put in the law, that bus drivers must have a uniform, we now put it in the law. I therefore suggest, Madam Speaker, first, let the government go back and study what you can achieve either by regulation or administrative action. Please don't come to move Parliament to amend. But two, the point that the Honorable Mwanga made and others, we have had two problems here. Sometimes you come here innocently carrying a bill, and then you end up licensing companies that are terrorizing our people, like the vehicle inspection. I hope you are not behind this bill carrying another company on your back that tomorrow will be announcing this driving permit, you go to Nambole, they are going to be issuing this. Because in the past you have done that. What I need to understand before even this matter is referred to the committee, if we introduce a professional driving permit, what happens to this one? If you are going to digitalize, who meets the cost? We have just paid for passports. You wake up one day and say, now, okay, now these passports must be this.
Chair,
Honorable members.
Chair, let me give Honorable Semju information. And the minister here should be fairly honest. When they came to the committee, they even brought a schedule of payments for different categories of the professional license. And now he's telling you here that it is free. There is a high degree of honesty we need to bring. So, Honorable Assembly, I want to inform you that this permit is not going to be free. They even gave us a schedule of the payment. I'm trying to check my office and get the schedule. And your Minister of State, not you, presented this schedule to the committee on which category of license will be paying for how much money. So why do you come here and tell us lies?
Honorable Attorney General, why don't we first allow our sectoral committee to study that aspect very well?
Yeah, I think he has made a ruling. Right, Honorable Speaker, I think you guide well. Maybe just for information here, this law was already amended. Section 78(2)B provides that the competent authority may, before granting a license to an applicant under subsection 1, require the drivers to be hosted on a digital platform that are accredited and issued with badges. That law is already there. So right now, as we have the legal regime as it exists now, a driver of a bus for passenger purposes will be required to have the driver's license that the one Honorable Chivumbi showed here. On top of that, they will be required to have a badge, which was being described by Honorable Nathan Byanyima. Now, the issue that we're trying to reconcile, Right Honorable Speaker and members, is that in Kenya, in Tanzania, and in other places across the region under the ISO standard, what we call the badge here is called a professional driver's license. Permit, sorry. Not everyone who is qualified to drive a bus is authorized to carry passengers. For example, I may have qualified to drive a bus, but have not driven a bus for many years, and I do not have that experience. So they say that the person who is given the badge by the owner of the bus should only be the person who is behind that driver's seat. So, like Honorable Semji says, it is a bit administrative. However, it was already introduced in our law. So, Right Honorable Speaker, yes, it can go back to the committee to look at it more and
that
reconcile the
specific
position.
Clause,
that
specific
specific clause.
Yes.
I don't think, but what we have here, Right Honorable, is so that members know that the drivers will be required to carry two instruments, a driver's license and a badge. I beg to submit.
Thank you. Now that we have resolved.
And maybe, Right Honorable Speaker, the badge, to my knowledge, has no cost.
The badge or a professional?
The badge now, which we wanted to
Yes.
call the professional driving permit, has no cost.
Will a professional driving permit have a cost?
No. You only have one cost that you incur.
But Honorable is saying there is a schedule of costs.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I can state here without fear of contradiction because I participate in writing these instruments. No instrument has been brought to us to levy any fees for these badges or professional driving permits. I beg to submit.
So Attorney General, we have agreed that particular clause on the issue of the badge versus the professional driving permit. We refer it back to the committee, sectoral committee.
That's okay, right, Honorable Speaker. We can
So
take
we
it
move
back.
on with the bill.
Right, Honorable Speaker, that was one issue on my minority report, and I think we have harmonized and agreed to defer that. There was, Right Honorable Speaker, the second issue, licenses for motorcycles and border borders. As Honorable Semju on record has stated, this may be a question of not legislation, but a question of a statutory instrument or regulation. But Right Honorable Speaker, this parliament you chair is for the commonest and the lowest of the people. We propose that for one to ride a border on any road in Uganda, one first undergoes a mandatory training, accreditation, and licensing by the Ministry of Transport. Our proposal is hinged on the fact that all road accidents reports issued by the police indicate that incidents attributed to border riders account for over 70%, most of which are fatal. Most of our riders are not properly trained, and their motorcycles are not roadworthy. We believe this measure will clean up the border industry and make it safe for all road users. We propose that a license fee by the Minister of Transport at a cost of only 30, renewable after 2 years, be provided. Right Honorable Speaker, our bone of contention is, when you look at the business of...
what is the cost now for license fee?
Is it 500? It's very prohibitive, Right Honorable Speaker.
Won't you bring everybody?
Yeah, the question is, we are saying, is that if you lower the fee and make it affordable by everybody, one, you increase the taxable base, because more people will come into the taxable bracket. But two, you will have capacity to ensure that all people who ride borders are accredited, trained, and this will reduce accident. Prohibitive fees make so many people evade this provision. Because with the border, you buy it today, the next day you're on the road with a car jacket, driving it. And this has caused accidents. Our view is that we should make effort to reduce this fee to the bare minimum and widen the base. And you'll collect more taxes, you'll have more revenues, but we shall most urgently reduce accident and save life.
Finance, AG.
Right Honorable Speaker, I've been trying to follow. I don't know what section of the law he's looking to amend.
Which clause is that?
Which clause?
Chair, as Honorable Semju has said, this does not particularly mean to amend any clause. It's an appeal to the ministry to make a regulation to this effect. It's just a guiding tool. In that we have noticed a problem in the industry, we believe it needs to be fixed.
Okay, since it is not in the bill, can we proceed yes, motion?
Right Honourable Speaker, we've listened to the learned Attorney General. We've also listened to the Minister and the minority report. I beg to move that the House moves into committee stage so that we consider the other aspects of the
Seconded? Is that seconded by the Minister of Works, by Finance, Attorney General, ICT? You stand up. ICT, by Akika, Poloto, Harriet, Xavier, by the whole House. Yes, even opposition, even Igoreti has seconded and Hanifa. Yes?
Madam Speaker, we need to deal with this amendment, for which the Honorable Asman moves Parliament to go to the committee stage. But a referral on one clause has been made. The procedural issue I am raising, Madam Speaker, first of all, for me this is strange, that you have an amendment bill whose parts are being considered by a committee and other parts are being passed by Parliament. It is the first time I need to be educated. So the procedural issue I am raising...
We are not making an amendment in that clause. It will stand part of the bill as we continue studying it.
So, Madam Speaker, if we are not referring any clause to the committee, then we can move to the committee stage. But if we are referring any particular clause to the Committee on Works, Madam Speaker, it will be irregular on our part to move to the committee stage to consider a bill.
I don't know whether you understood what we meant, that we are not making an amendment to that effect, so it will stand part of the bill. The amendment brought in by the committee is not going to be taken. What is there remains. I now put a question that the Traffic and Road Safety Amendment Bill 2023 be read for the second time. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
The Traffic and Road Safety Amendment Bill 2023, bills committee stage.
For the safety of the quorum issue, the number we have is 186, including those virtually.
Clause 1.
I put a question that clause 1 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say on the contrary nay. I put a question that those in favor say on the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 2.
Clause 2 deletion. I put a question that clause 2 be deleted. Those in favor say on the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 3.
Clause 3 has no amendment. I put a question that clause 3.
Madam Speaker, on clause 3, I just wanted the confirmation from the minister that clause 3 under sub-clause 3 proposes a penalty for non-compliance, failure to comply with the speed limit. And in the existing law under the Traffic and Road Safety Act, we do have penalties also provided. Are you going to allow the two penalties to be used, or you are now repealing the provisions against penalizing violation of speed limits, and then you'll only use this one?
Madam Speaker, when we pass this one will be the one which will be taking precedence.
Clause 3 has no amendment, meaning that we will take what is in the parent act. It has no amendment.
Madam Speaker, the point I was making, under the Traffic and Road Safety Act, violation attracts a sentence of a fine of 200,000 shillings. Here now they are proposing 20 million. 20 million. So when it comes now to enforcement, if you give two alternatives under different laws, then you will not be achieving the purpose that you.
Right Honourable Chair, clause 2 is talking about an insertion of 119A. So it will be read together with the other one. So the one where you're charged is under the penalty you'll pay for that. There is no inconsistency, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Chair. Right Honourable Speaker, just to clarify, the one for the express penalty is where you concede the offence and you're given a penalty there and then. This one is where you go to trial, you oppose and you go to trial and you're found guilty through the process of trial.
Thank you.
The penalty is higher.
Yes. Thank you. I put a question that clause 3 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. No. The ayes have it.
Clause 4.
Clause 4, no amendment. Clause 4.
Madam Chair, under clause 4, we propose an amendment to read as follows. A motor vehicle which is 9 years or more from the year of manufacture and which is principally designed to carry goods.
Honorable.
Under B, a motor vehicle which is 9 years old or more from the year of manufacture excluding goods vehicles, levy 50% of the CIF value. C, a motor vehicle which is 9 years or more from the year of manufacture and which is principally designed to carry goods, 20% of the CIF value, and the commencement date of the above amendment should be 1st July 2018. Madam Chair, I beg to submit.
Thank you. There is
the justification.
The justification.
The justification, Madam Chair, is one, to harmonize application of Section 14B and 4th Schedule of the Traffic and Road Safety Act. 2, remove ambiguity in the interpretation and administration of the law. And 3, the rates environmental levy remains as stipulated in the Traffic and Road Safety Act 2018, the spirit of the current law and the intention of Parliament in 2018 is that all vehicles which are 9 years or more from the year of manufacture are subject to environmental levy, and lastly, the law, if not amended, will lead to potential revenue loss if clarity is not made.
Yes, Honorable Semujo. What Honorable Finance is trying to do is clear an inconsistency, which is in Section 4 and Schedule 4, 4B. There is an inconsistency which has been in the law, which needs to be rectified. Yes.
Madam Chair, we are talking about levies and money. Let the Minister of Finance be clear. If the charges are going to remain the way they are, or you are increasing charges, don't hide in technical terms. Because, you see, these things, we've gone there. You go to import an ambulance, and they tell you now you pay 6 million for environment. Because we have passed laws here in the past that we've not paid full attention, and you take advantage of that. Madam Chair, can the Minister of Finance tell us whether by this amendment we are not revising the figures upwards?
And when you look at the principal act, the levy remains. But the presumption at the beginning was it was a one-off. But vehicles keep growing old. Yes, customs.
Madam Chair, I have studied the act and I have seen the proposal by the minister. I want to request the members to support this amendment. It is not changing the law, the rates. It is actually easing the administration of this act, because in the schedule what they put is not consistent with what is under section 14B. So there is no increase in tax, the rate remains the same. It is just harmonization and facilitating the tax administration to be able to implement this law.
I want Honorable Chivumbi. General.
Well, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. We're trying to look at the proposal from my young brother, the Honorable Minister of State for Finance. Our challenge is this particular clause 4 is repealing the Roads Act, Section 52 of the Roads Act. And we wanted to see the harmony between the proposed amendment and the Section 52 of the Roads Act, so that we do not create an abnormality.
Can I hear from your young brother? The way you...
Madam Chair, I proposed an insertion of a new clause. I didn't propose to amend section 4. Sorry, clause 4. Mine is an insertion of a new clause to read as I have read.
Honorable members, I am putting a question that an insertion of a new insertion as proposed by the Minister of Finance be made on clause 4. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Title.
2018, Amendment Act 2018, Technology Safety Act, it is 2020.
Title, I put a question that the title stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Motion for resumption of the House.
Honorable Minister.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that the House do resume and the Committee of the whole House reports thereto.
I put a question that the House resumes and the Committee of the whole House reports thereto. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Report of the Committee of the whole House.
Honorable Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the whole House has considered the bill entitled the Traffic and Road Safety Amendment Bill 2023 and passed it with amendments.
Motion for adoption of the report of the Committee of the Whole House.
Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move a motion that the report from the Committee of the Whole House be adopted.
I put a question that the House adopts the report of the Committee of the Whole House. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. No. The ayes have it.
Bill's third reading, the Traffic and Road Safety Amendment Bill 2023.
Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the bill entitled the Traffic and Road Safety Amendment Bill 2023 be read for the third time and do pass.
I put a question that the Traffic and Road Safety Amendment Bill 2023 be read the third time and do pass. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
A bill for an act titled the Traffic and Road Safety Amendment Act 2023.
Bill passed and title settled. Next.
Item 5.
Yes, procedure from, you are sitting on the wrong place. So I don't see you when you speak from behind.
Yes. Right Honorable Speaker, the procedural matter I'm raising on is about the number of ministers present in the House. Right Honorable Speaker, we have more than 80 ministers.
Next item.
Item 5. Bill's second reading, the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2023.
Honorable members, on Wednesday 10th, 2023, the House stood over the consideration of the bill pending harmonization between the committee and the executive. Initially, the committee had said they had not received the agreements, and we referred them back to the committee. And I think the chair is now ready to report. Chair, Finance.
We are now on which one?
I'm talking about the mutual tax. Can you go to the mutual tax?
Which one are we dealing with now? We are dealing with supplementary appropriation. But now we have the supplementary issue.
Bill's second reading, the Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters Implementation Bill 2023.
Where is that one?
Honorable Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the bill entitled the Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters
there is a procedure
be
matter.
read for the
Madam Speaker, the order paper that was issued to us and the copy which I have, the bill which is next item is the Supplementary Appropriation Bill.
2023.
And I came here at the very beginning. I did not hear the Speaker amend the order paper. Is the Minister proceeding well by introducing items on the order paper before seeking the approval of the Speaker by way of amending the order paper and putting the entire House in total confusion?
Honorable Semuju, I think it was a mistake from my technical staff. We had referred this bill back and it was supposed to be presented together. We need to present this before we go to supply. Kindly allow me amend the order paper and have this bill presented. And since it has been, it is not there, but you listen to it. Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for your wise ruling. Madam Speaker, I beg your indulgence that I repeat, since I somehow lost it on the way. I beg to move that the bill entitled the Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters, Bill 2023, be read for the second time.
Is the bill seconded? No. Seconded by Katesh, by Semuju, is saying no, by Honorable Minister of Works, Attorney General, ICT, Savire, by Max, by Xavier.
Even me now.
Would you love to speak to your bill? Speak to your motion.
Madam Speaker, the object of this bill is to give the force of law in Uganda to the Convention of Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters and the Multilateral Competent Authority Agreement on automatic exchange of financial account information, provide for the standard for automatic exchange of financial account information in tax matters and for other related matters. The Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters Bill has therefore been informed by number 1, the requirement by international law and the OECD to domesticate the commitment in order to benefit from the Convention. Number 2, the need to align our international agreements with domestic laws. And number 3, the urgent need to increase efficiency in tax administration, since on request is slow. And number 4, proof of revenue gains from historic figures, the exchange of information so far undertaken amounting to Uganda shillings 243 billion. Madam Speaker, we presented this bill for the first reading in the House, and we referred the bill to the Committee on Finance, Planning and Economic Development. I am aware they have considered the bill and they are ready to report back. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Shadow Finance, did you harmonize and are you at par?
Chair, for the first time, let me concede. I was cut between Committee of Finance and Budget for most of the time, but my technical team that worked on this report together with the committee, which I deployed, have briefed me, and I have every reason to believe in them that the position they reached is an agreeable position, and I rely on them. So I agree that we move forward.
So you are saying we go to committee stage and look at clause by clause?
No, the chair has to first present, then we proceed. I'm relying on the technical advice of the officers of Parliament who are reliable in our office. They've convinced me there are no issues.
Madam Speaker, last time we were here, we had not been given the documents that we required, but we were given the documents on the same day, and we are now ready to report.
So report.
Introduction. The Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters Implementation Bill 2023 was presented for first reading on Thursday, 30th March 2023, in accordance with Rule 128 of the Parliamentary Rules of Procedure. Subsequently, in accordance with Rule 129, the bill was referred to the Committee on Finance, Planning and Economic Development. We have considered the bill through consultation with different stakeholders, and we are ready to report. The bill is necessitated by the need to control illicit financial flows and to enhance revenue collections from incomes earned by Ugandans abroad. Estimates of illicit financial flows from Africa range between 50 and $80 billion annually and seem to be on an upward trajectory. Tax evasion forms an important part of illicit financial flows, transfer pricing schemes by multinationals, fictitious loans, and under-declaration of pay as you earn by expatriate staff. Where transparency is low, the rate of illicit financial flows is high. Therefore, exchange of information between countries is the only way to combat the illicit financial flows. Exchange of information is the systematic and periodic transmission of bulk taxpayers' information by the source country to the residence country concerning various categories of income. The categories of income targeted by the exchange of information include interest, dividends, royalties, salaries, and assets. The Minister has read the object of the bill, but
yes, Richard.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Trying to follow closely the bill and the report of the committee, I just see that both the bill and the report are not uploaded on our iPads, and I want to seek your indulgence to direct that as the committee chair presents, at least we can have both the bill and the report uploaded. Yeah. Thank you.
They are uploading. Actually, we are not amending this bill. It is going to remain as it is. When you look at all the clauses in the Apparent Act, it is as it is. But we are doing the formality. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. The Minister has read the object of the bill. I'll now move on to the stakeholders' views. Which is 4-0. Stakeholders' views, observation, and recommendation of the committee. The Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development informed the committee that the bill seeks to undertake the following. 1. To create both general and specific obligation for all financial institutions in Uganda to conduct due diligence and report financial account information of all non-resident taxpayers to the Commissioner General in a prescribed format. 2. To provide for specific penalties for all financial institutions that fail to meet the obligations set out. To provide remedies for non-resident taxpayers that enter into schemes to avoid reporting. To provide for any subsequent amendment to the Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters and the Multilateral Competent Authority Agreement on Automatic Exchange of Financial Account Information, and to empower the Minister to make regulation for automatic exchange of information. The committee scrutinized the clauses in the bill and noted the following. Clause 1 to 5 provide for the background of the international agreement that will be domesticated by the bill. The agreement includes the Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters, the Multilateral Competent Authority Agreement on Automatic Exchange of Information, and the Common Reporting Standard. Clause 6 provides for the requirement of due diligence obligation for financial institutions. The provision sets parameters for identification of customers, changes in residence status, and prescribes a record retention period of 5 years. Clause 7 prescribes the form, manner, timelines to facilitate the reporting by the persons required to report. It sets that 31st May every calendar year as the reporting deadline. Clause 8 delineates offenses and sanctions pertaining to the obligations under the bill. These offenses and sanctions are in regard to the failure to file a return, failure to maintain information, false or misleading statement, false or misleading of self-certification, and omission from a statement made in a return. And then clause 9 authorizes the Commissioner General to recharacterize a transaction or an element of a transaction as part of the anti-avoidance scheme. Clause 10 is meant to address any amendment to international agreements providing for automatic exchange of information. And then clause 11 provides for inspection of records, the procedure for conducting due diligence, and any other matters incidental to carrying out the obligation under the Act. The committee further identified the following benefits likely to arise from domestication of the Convention. So those clauses are what all the other countries that have signed to these agreements have agreed to, and there are 127 countries. One, and these are the benefits. One, will increase revenue yield, especially from multinational enterprises and expatriate staff. Two, expansion of the taxpayer register with the high-value clients. Three, will increase in voluntary compliance through the voluntary disclosure program. Four, will combat tax fraud, evasion, and illicit financial flows facilitated through offshore transaction. And five, availability of statistics on government on the extent and value of offshore tax evasion to support policy formulation. The committee observed that at least 127 countries have domesticated the convention so far and have benefited from the same with reduced illicit financial flows. In Nigeria and South Africa, this led to annual revenue yield amounting to $162 million a year and $183 million respectively. The committee further observed that government has always expressed commitment to domesticate the convention. In 2016, the Organization for Economic Cooperation, OECD, received from the Embassy of Uganda to France the instrument of ratification of the Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters. In December 2020, Cabinet approved the signing and ratification of the Convention. The Convention was then signed and ratified in November 2021. The committee reviewed the note verbal signed by the Director of Legal Affairs, OECD, the Cabinet Mint approving the signing and ratification of the Convention, and signed the ratified copy of the Convention. The committee further noted that government intends to undertake the effective exchange of information with the partner states by 31st May 2025 to allow sufficient time for setup. Under the Convention, the member states are mandated to report on all income generated by non-residents from 1st July to 31st December each year. Upon passing of this law, Uganda Revenue Authority will be able to compile all incomes of non-residents to the participating revenue authorities under the Convention for the period covering 1st January to 31st, 2024, and accordingly report by 31st of May 2025 as provided for in the Convention. All countries report by 31st of May. URA shall, upon passing of this law, undertake the following measures in order to ensure the implementation of the exchange of information. 1. It will issue guidance notes for stakeholders on the implementation of the provision of the bill. 2. It will develop IT systems for ease of implementation of the provision of the bill. 3. It will carry out sensitization and awareness campaigns with the stakeholders. And 4. It will do the assessment of the confidentiality and data safeguard through the OECD Global Forum. The committee noted that URA has been undertaking exchange of information with sister agencies on a voluntary basis within the obligation of ratification of the convention since 2014. Out of these voluntary requests, Uganda has been able to collect a total of 243 billion for the period between 2014 and 2022. The annual tax collections level and yield are not consistent due to lack of a law that would compel revenue authorities in participating member countries report on all incomes instead of voluntary responses to some requests by URA. The committee observed further that in the preparation of implementation, URA has established a unit in which officers have for the last 2 years trained in compiling and analyzing data and exchange with other revenue authorities in the reporting jurisdiction under the convention. URA has mainstreamed the cost of running the unit in its recurrent budget in the medium-term expenditure framework. URA is also mandated to pay annual fee of 18,000 and an equivalence of 32 million Uganda, an equivalence of, so URA is mandated to pay 18,000 and that is equivalent of 32 million Uganda shillings to OECD. The committee established that when the bill is passed into law, Uganda Revenue Authority is expected to collect at least 400 billion, up from the 44.4 billion recorded in 2022. Having scrutinized the bill and its likely benefits, as herein above exposed, the committee reached the conclusion that the bill on the mutual administrative assistance and tax matters is passed into law. We therefore the committee recommends that the Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters Implementation Bill 2023 be passed into law.
Thank you so much, Chair.
Madam Speaker, I beg to lay minutes of the meeting that we had, the multilateral agreement that we've referred to in the report, and other documents that were laid before the committee.
Thank you. Can you please lay? Yes, Honorable Sarah.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, this bill is long overdue, and as members have heard, it was adopted in 1988, and as a country, Cabinet approved this in 2016. So from 2016, no action has been taken, Right Honorable Speaker. And for me, what I see is that this bill will go a long way in helping us to deal with some of the challenges we've been facing of the illicit financial flows in this country. So, Right Honorable Speaker, considering that Honorable Mwanga Kivumbi has indicated that he agrees with the report, and I don't see any dissenting views, Right Honorable Speaker, for such a straightforward and long overdue bill, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to move a motion that we suspend Rule 133, that is debating the report, and we move straight to the bill's second reading so that we can dispense with this business. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Is it seconded? By Katesh, Edie, Peter, Richard, Chemonge, C. James, the Ame, Christine, disability, Bumali. I now put a question that the Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters Implementation Bill 2023 be read the second time. Those in favor sign the contrary nay. The ayes have it. Yes.
Madam Speaker, the Honorable Openg, who wants us to go to the next stage, we'll also have to move that we suspend the rule requiring that a report on a bill is considered only after 3 days. That's what the rules say.
Okay, move the motion.
I was just giving Parliament information.
Thank you. Next item.
The Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters Implementation Bill 2023, Bills Committee stage. Clause 1.
Clause 1, I put a question that clause 1 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 2.
I put a question that clause 2 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 3.
I put a question that clause 3 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 4.
I put a question that clause 4 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 5.
I put a question that clause 5 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 6.
I put a question that clause 6 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 7.
I put a question that clause 7 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 8.
I put a question that clause 8 stands part of the bill. Clause 8.
Yeah, Madam Chair, on clause 8, I wanted the chairperson of the committee to help us relate these offenses that are provided here to the specific provisions in the convention. If that cannot be, then it gives us latitude to make amendments to the offenses provided here.
Chair. That's on clause 8.
Madam Chair, what we were told was that these offences have been ratified by the 120 member states and we could not change them. But if the member has objection, then that's what he should raise.
It is in the agreement?
Yes, they are in the agreement and they have been signed by 127 member states.
They have the agreements. They have laid on table. Minister? AG?
Right Honorable Speaker, Right Honorable Chair and colleagues, the convention requires you to file a return, and the failure to file the return, I think that's Schedule 2, I think 16. If you fail to file the return, the obligations on the parties are under Schedule 2 of this bill. So the failure to make the returns or to meet those obligations under Schedule 2 are the offenses set out here. So you look at Schedule 2, the obligation and the offense is the same.
Madam Chair, my issue is, if I can give an example, under 8A, a person who fails to file a return on the due date for purposes of the automatic exchange of information is liable to civil penalty of 250 currency points for each day of default. I have looked through the agreement. I have not traced the 250. And that's the clarification I wanted them to give us. If it is not coming from the agreement, because the convention may have...
in relation to the schedule attached, or does it refer to the schedule?
Right Honorable Chair, is the member speaking of the penalty set out here? Yes, the penalty, if you give me a second, Right Honorable Speaker, I'll identify the penalties for you.
Clause 9.
Clause 9.
As we wait for Attorney General to give us, I put a question that clause 9 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 10.
I put a question that clause 10 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 11.
I put a question that clause 11 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Schedule 1.
I put a question that the schedule stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. No. The ayes have it.
Schedule 2.
I put a question that Schedule 2 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Schedule 3.
I put a question that Schedule 3 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Schedule 4.
I put a question that Schedule 4 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it. Are you speaking on 8?
I'm not the Attorney General, but I have...
Whom are you responding to?
Madam Speaker, on
You
8...
don't respond to Semuju next time.
My apologies.
Honorable Semuju, not Semuju. Okay.
Madam Speaker, the Schedule 8 relates to offences. These offences are already provided for in our tax procedures code. We are dealing with a convention. A convention cannot have a standard universal penalty regime. It can only provide for offenses. Then as we domesticate it here, we have to consistently look at the existing offenses and harmonize and apply the related offenses. That's the guidance I wanted to give.
So what are you saying?
I think the clause as it is stated is okay.
AJ?
Right, Honorable Speaker, maybe just to add on that, these offenses that are existing under this convention are also existing under our TPC, our Tax Procedure Code. For example, you'll find Section 62. If you do not do the registration, then you'll be charged with a penalty of 150 currency points or 6 years. So when prescribing the penalties here, you look at the TPC and bring them into this law. So it's harmonized. So you'll find this similar penalties already existing in the TPC. I'm just trying to get the Amendment Act for one of the specific ones here. But they already provided for, so you're harmonizing the two.
Jonathan?
Madam Chair, I want to give two examples of 8A and 8B. When you are making a penal provision, you also provide for both the fines and the sentence, which does not appear here. For example, I've just given that example for him. If you look at C, D, and E, you are provided for imprisonment, terms of imprisonment. But under A, B, you have not. And my question is, if these fees, these fines and penalties were set already in the conventions, we would not have debate over it. But since it is not, then if we are legislating, we can then decide whether 10 million, for example, under 8B is enough or is not enough.
Yes.
That's what I was raising, my point.
A and B.
Right, Honorable Speaker, as I get the Amendment Act, for example, I'll give you an example of Section 63(3)(b) of the Tax Procedure Code. It says the tax officer who commits an act specified under this subsection, who volunteers information to the Commissioner relating to this act, exonerates from prosecution but is liable for 20% of the fine that will be imposed on a person convicted of. So the Parliament has, in fact, issued penalty without imprisonment, and that's what we are trying to harmonize. So it's not a strange. No, but, Right Honourable Speaker, the challenge that you'll have is you'll have inconsistencies between the TPC and this act. So we try to harmonize the two.
Can the Land Attorney General now tell us where he has cross-referenced the Tax Procedures Code with this particular bill? Any clause that you have cross-referenced the Tax Procedure Code with this, so that we are comforted that if we don't have a solution here, we can go elsewhere.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Where I find a problem, Jonathan is asking whether the convention is stating those penalties. It is very difficult for a convention to state universal penalties. We have our penalties here. I think what the Attorney General should do is to give us the penalties here which are consistent with the agreement.
If they are
tax
not
procedures
there,
and the agreement.
if they are not there, then we can do some amendments as the Honorable Jonathan is proposing. Thank you.
One of the purposes to domesticate, not so.
And Madam Speaker, this convention, like we had earlier mentioned, is going to help us be able to deal with the challenges which some of the members raised last time, issues of double tax treaties where people are hiding income in different jurisdictions. So the different countries which have adopted this have provided for penalties for which we would benefit if we seek information and someone has failed to provide information. So we cannot fail to provide for reciprocal penalties. Otherwise, we will have a challenge getting information from other jurisdictions because our regime is weak and we are not able to enforce. So I want to say that if we feel the penalties we have provided are not enough, we want to have an alternative of a custodial sentence, then we can move an amendment and change.
AG.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Chair. Section 62H of the Tax Procedures Amendment Act, offences relating to automatic exchange of information. For example, B, a person who fails to maintain a record for purposes of automatic exchange commits an offence and is liable to, on conviction, to a fine not exceeding 2,500 currency points for each day of default or imprisonment not exceeding 10 years, or both. So you look at clause 8 and look at section 64H of the Amendment Act, the TPC Amendment Act. You'll find they reconcile. Right Honourable Chair and members, also, we have discussed this before, the existence of a law in another place. The person prosecuting the matter can choose to penalize you in either of those, depending on the circumstance. So it will not affect the legal regime in any way, but it is cross-referenced. As I've given 64.
You've seen the cross-referencing, this case for. I now put a question that clause 8 stands part of the bill. Those in favour say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Title.
I put a question that the title stands part of the bill. Those in favour say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Motion for resumption of the House.
Honourable Minister.
Madam Chair, I beg to move a motion that the committee of the whole House do resume, that the House do resume and the committee of the whole House reports thereto.
I put a question that the House resumes and the committee of the whole House reports thereto. Those in favour say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Report of the Committee of the Whole House.
Honourable Minister.
Madam Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the Whole House has considered the bill entitled the Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters, Bill 2023, and passed it with no amendments.
Honourable
Motion for adoption of the report of the Committee of the Whole House.
Minister.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move a motion that the report from the Committee of the Whole House be adopted.
I put a question that the House adopts the report of the Committee of the Whole House. Those in favour say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Bill's third reading. The Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters Implementation Bill 2023.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters Implementation Bill 2023 be read for the third time and do pass.
I put a question that the Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters Implementation Bill 2023 be read the third time and do pass. Those in favor say on the control and nay. The ayes have it.
A bill for an act titled the Convention on Mutual Administrative Assistance in Tax Matters Implementation Act 2023.
Bill passed and title settled. Thank you. Next item.
Bill second reading. The appropriation.
Honorable members, the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2023 was read the first time on Wednesday, that was on 10th May 2023, and it was referred to the Committee of Budget, and I'm aware that the committee is ready to report. Can I have the Minister move a motion?
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the Supplementary Appropriations Bill 2023 be read for the second time.
Is it seconded? 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 Seconded by Anifa, Christine, Mbwa, Alanyo, Honorable Elwelu, Honorable Elwelu, by the whole House. Honorable Minister, would you love to speak to your motion?
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Madam Speaker, the bill is intended to provide for supplementary appropriation out of the Consolidated Fund under Article 156(3) of the Constitution and Section 25 of the Public Finance Management Act 2015 of a sum of 4,716,490,000 shillings only to meet additional expenditures for the financial year 2021-2022. Madam Speaker, more details will be provided in the committee report.
Thank you so much. Chair, can you present your report? I am also aware that we have a minority, so let's have the major report first.
Yeah, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members. This is a report of the Budget Committee on the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2023. Before I proceed, I beg to read the report of the committee and the minority report, minutes of the meeting, copy of the bill, parliamentary resolutions attached. I beg to read. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the item is uploaded. Members can read. On 10th May 2023, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development presented the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2023 for first reading, and it was referred to the Budget Committee. Mr. Doge, the committee studied the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2023 together with the resolutions of Parliament and other documents listed. Members, you can read the Schedule 1 and 2 for financial year 2021-22, resolutions of Parliament. Members, you can go through those resolutions and they answered. Background. During the implementation of of the budget for financial 2021-22, government sought additional resources and reallocations to meet its expenditure requirement. The requests were read before Parliament in two supplementary schedules, Schedules 1 and 2, in accordance with provision of Article 156(2) of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda and Section 25 of Public Finance and Management Act 2015 as amended. Article 156(2) and 3 provides the members, I think you can read that is a constitutional requirement. Members can read that. On 21st October 2021, Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development laid before Parliament supplementary expenditure estimate under Schedule 1 amounting to 3.819 trillion, of which 8.5% of the approved budget of 44,778 billions for financial year 2021-22. This schedule was inclusive of the supplementary expenditure estimate within the 3% legal limit, within which the minister is authorized to spend, amounting to Uganda shillings 1,343 billion shillings. The supplementary expenditure schedule 1 was approved by Parliament under resolution dated 19th November 2021, 1st December 2021, and 21st December 2021. On May 18, 2022, Government laid before Parliament supplementary expenditure estimate under Schedule Number 2, amounting to Uganda shillings 617.948 billion, and was approved by Parliament on 19th May 2022 without amendments. 2.1. The object of the bill is to provide for supplementary appropriation out of the consolidated fund under Article 156(3) of the Constitution and Section 25 of Public Finance and Management Act, a sum of 4,416,786,490,000 shillings to meet additional expenditure for financial 2021-2022. Members, some small correction. These figures you will see and you just omit and. Was an error, but so where there is and you just remove. Observations. The committee observed that a total of 4.16 trillion was captured in a supplementary.
It is 4.416.
4,416,786,490,420 shillings was captured in the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2023, of which shillings 2,512,713,661,211 was the current expenditure, and Uganda shillings 1,904,072,829,209 was development expenditure. This is consistent with the resolution of Parliament approving the supplementary expenditure number 1 and 2, and the resolutions amending schedule number 1. The committee observed that there are errors in the narration of the current expenditure in the schedule of the bill for votes 009, vote 010, and the vote 205. The narration indicates the financial year for the expenditure as 2018-2019, whereas the expenditure relates to the financial year 2021-22. The committee recommends that the bill be amended to the correct errors. In conclusion, Right Honourable Speaker and honourable members, the Supplementary Appropriation Bill is consistent with the resolution of Parliament on Supplementary Expenditure Schedule Number 1 and Schedule Number 2. The committee recommends that Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2023 be passed into law, subject to a proposed amendments. Right Honourable Speaker and members, I beg to report. I have a copy of my minority report attached, and I request the author of the minority report to present. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair. Can we have the author of the minority report?
Chair, Right Honourable Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. Right Honourable Speaker, I'll go straight to the area of dissent. We discussed with the Majority Committee on the decision by Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development to dispatch 180 billion to Attack Sugar Factory under Vote 105 to the Minister of Trade, Industry and Cooperation for purchase of equipment to be leased to Attack Works against the parliamentary resolution to acquire additional equity shares of 180 billion to Government of Uganda as indicated in the majority report on page 24 during the 13th sitting of the second meeting of the first session of the 11th Parliament of Republic of Uganda held on Thursday 13th November 2021. Our recommendation, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development should provide a share certificate for acquisition of equity shares in Attack Sugar Factory worth 103 billion on behalf of Uganda. Right Honourable Speaker, our conclusion, Right Honourable Speaker, is that this 180 billion cannot enter, 8 billion
108
cannot enter the appropriation bill. Right Honourable Speaker, Parliament approved, and I have the answered with me. The Deputy Speaker at that time put a question on a minority report, and the minority report was lost. Then he put a question on a majority report, and the majority report was carried. The majority report recommended that government should use 180 for acquisition of equity.
It's 108.
Now, 108 billion for acquisition of equity. Now, a resolution of this Parliament was communicated to Parliament that we passed money for purchase of equipment to the Minister of Finance. That was a distortion of a recommendation of Parliament, which majority report was adopted, and the communication to Minister of Finance would provide us to what we recommended. Now, for a figure under provision of the Constitution, I'll ask the Attorney General from our side to elaborate on the law. For a figure to enter an appropriation bill, it should be both the sum and for the purpose for which you appropriated. Any monies where there is a change or for a purpose which you are appropriated cannot be part of an appropriation supplementary bill. Therefore, our position is that money for attack, 180 billion, cannot be in the appropriation bill we are going to consider. We will exclude that figure, and those who spent this money, the law will take its course, because that's all Parliament can do. Minister of Finance has been using the 3% and other provisions to undermine what we do. Their day has come. On attack, we have them. They have moved contrary to the law. That's what the law provides. Right Honourable Speaker, I move that the committee, the Parliament recommends for us to exclude money for attack because it was contrary to what this committee resolved the ministry to use this money for. I beg to move.
Attorney General, can you guide us on this matter?
Chair, before I go, let me ask our Attorney General from this side.
I am asking the Attorney General on this side first to guide. And we need to understand the object of this appropriation bill. The purpose of this appropriation bill is for us to regularize the books of accounts for financial year 2021-2022. We need to close the cycle, accounting cycle, before we go and supply. That's why we pass this bill. And secondly, the expenditure has already been incurred. Maybe that becomes now administrative. Attorney General?
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, one, like you said, correctly put, this is to report what was done. That's the first thing. Number two, I'm not quite sure I understand the objection of the honourable member, because he said money was appropriated to acquire shares and not to buy equipment.
Atiaka needed money to buy equipment. Okay? We agreed to give money.
Which equipment would become part of the equity of government?
Yes, no, Chair. We decided that money should go to UDC, onwards to Atiak. The condition for government of Uganda is to acquire equity with this money. The money would be consequently used to buy equipment. But for us as government, we would have gotten shares in that company to protect our interest. We are not willing to donate free money to Atiak. That was a resolution of Parliament. The consequent communication from Parliament meant that we gave Atiak free money.
Which Parliament?
This one.
Who communicated?
I have a letter here.
Now, if there is a communication signed by who? The clerk? Now, Chair, that will become administrative. I will handle it administratively.
Chair, let me read this letter. Chair, this is what was communicated to government. Appropriation of Uganda shillings 180 billion to Uganda
108.
108 to Uganda Development Corporation for mechanization for the Atiak works. At the 13th sitting of the second meeting of the first session of the 11th Parliament of Uganda, and on Thursday, held on Thursday, 13th November 2021, Parliament passed a resolution to approve Supplementary Expenditure Schedule number 1 for the financial year 2021-22. Parliament, the approved supplementary expenditure included 108 billion to Uganda Development Corporation through Vote 105, Ministry of Trade, Industry and Corporation, specifically for the purchase of equipment to be leased to Atiak Sugar Works. That's what the resolution says. The resolution of Parliament, which we passed, and I have it here. The resolution of Parliament,
the resolution will handle it administratively.
Which we passed. The challenge we have, this Parliament, that's why I'm asking that Attorney General, we cannot enter figure when you read the Constitution, and the Constitution is supreme, for which a purpose for which you appropriated money has been wrongly placed. That figure can't be part of the bill.
Can I first hear from the chair, what was the resolution? And what was the money used for?
Right,
and whether we should refer that to Committee of Trade.
Right Honourable Speaker and members, what was passed by the House was acquisition of equity. The 108 billion was for equity. But when you look at the bill, it's talking about the mechanization. Now, secondly, we saw some correspondence between office of the clerk, and I think what Honorable Mwanga is trying to refer to PSST, communicating about mechanization, not equity. I think it's an administrative issue which can. But you are saying no.
Honorable members, let's be civilized.
But right, Honorable Speaker and members, when you read through the resolution forwarding the entire supplementary, it did not talk about the equity. It talked about the total sums appropriated by the House, supplied by the House. By that time, we were not appropriated. But that communication between the office of the clerk bring up the issue of equity. So in the process, equity lost. So along the way, then mechanization came in.
Thank you.
So it is office of the clerk at Parliament.
And as I've said, I am going to handle that administratively. Let's handle it administratively. Let's not make our work not move on because of some error somebody has done. I am going to call the Mr. Waiswa, who wrote the letter, and handle it. Yes.
I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Madam Speaker, I thought you had given me, and this will be helpful to the Attorney General, because we made these decisions when all of us are here. Even if the communication from the clerk to finance had issues, what we'll need to know is whether the process of acquiring equity is now complete and evidence. As simple as that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Just hold on, AJ.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I hope and pray that the Land Attorney General will not rise to come here to speak the law, because the law is unequivocal about what we did, and he will not vacate it. But let me inform the House that as we speak, government has so far injected 279 billion in Atiak sugar. And the majority shareholders have only injected 120 billion. They have 60%. The one who has injected 279 has 40. So will the Land Attorney General inform the House, speaking in line with what the Honourable Samju was saying, how the 108 was characterized en route to Atiak? How was it characterized? Because there's no way equity can become equipment, even if there is a phonetic connotation that equity is interpreted to be equipment, that was read as being in a simplified form, that was letters left out to equity to equipment. So how was it characterized, Land Attorney General, that we can know? Because the law is very clear, and there's a question of interpreting the law. If somebody wants to impeach the authority of Parliament in dealing with the supplementary appropriation, then we need to have a very clear explanation. Otherwise, for me, it's a question of impeaching the powers of Parliament, and this is the day for Parliament to assert itself. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Thank you very much, Lob. When I rise here, I will only speak of the law, because that's what the Constitution allows me to speak of. Right Honourable Speaker and Honourable Members, I think the resolution of the minority members, which said that the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development should provide a certificate for acquisition of equity shares in Attack Sugar worth 108 billion on behalf of government sits quite well with what Honorable Semuju was saying. The purpose, what Parliament appropriated was the acquisition of equity. The question that government must answer is whether it acquired equity.
Yes.
Definitely, equity cannot turn into equipment, but equipment can be used to acquire equity. Right Honorable Speaker, allow the executive to come back with the requisite documentation to show that government actually acquired equity in this institution as per the resolution of Parliament. I beg to submit.
And I'll want executive to get that resolution and we refer it to the Sectoral Committee of Trade for further analysis.
Maybe just for purposes of the record, Right Honourable Speaker, any appropriation we make in this House under the provisions of Article 156, once it clearly stipulates the purpose for which that appropriation has been made, then that purpose must be perfected. Any diversion from that purpose becomes illegal, null, and void. And I hope the Attorney General will bring the requisite documentation.
Thank you. Attorney General is going to do that. Honorable members, me, I'm hungry. You sit.
I'm sorry, Madam Speaker, we're also facing the same. But the point I want to make, Madam Speaker, is one, that in the past I have had raised issues here, how resolutions or decisions taken by this House is manipulated outside. And this is criminal. It is fraudulent. We cannot, I know administratively you are going to deal with it, but it must be on record that a technical officer of Parliament cannot usurp the powers of Parliament and communicate something else.
I am going to do it. Take it from me. I'm going to handle that aspect.
Secondly, Madam Speaker.
And I will report to this House.
Thank you. Secondly, Madam Speaker, the Budget Committee must understand that they do work for and on behalf of all the members of Parliament. When you are sent to go and compare what was approved in 2021 and what has been presented, and you come here and you do not tell us, and yet you are supposed to scrutinize and speak to the items that we appropriated, and you come and say we have no problem, you approved, the Budget Committee should actually resign. They are a disgrace to this House. And this is not the first time the Budget Committee is doing such a thing. Madam Speaker, this must be taken seriously. We cannot be taken for granted anymore. Other than that, I wanted to move that report be rejected.
There is an order. We are not going to reject the report. We are going to adopt the report and we are going to supply.
Madam Speaker, the
Honorable
point
member,
of order I am raising.
we must finish the accounting cycle.
The point
First
of order I am raising. We have authored a report with Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi. The honorable member is saying that all of us on the Budget Committee we are a disgrace and therefore must resign. This report that has been presented, including a minority, is a report of the Budget Committee. If, for one reason, the NRM people have not seen and we have seen, it remains the Budget Committee. Is therefore in order to ban all of us and say we are a disgrace and therefore should resign?
Honorable, you want to answer what he's saying? Auntie, you're standing. That's why I'm wondering whether you wanted to respond to him. Honorable member, there are two reports. Whoever was dissatisfied with the main report had to make a minority report. And that's why we have a minority report. We have a very good team in Budget Committee. We have a good team. So all of us are the same as members of Parliament. So let the members continue working.
Honorable Speaker, allow me to read the members who signed the minority report. Honorable Semju Ibrahim Nganda, Namuga Goleti, Anne Adeke. Those are the members of the Budget Committee. And Mwanga Chivumbi.
That is okay. That's understandable. Honorable members, we need to move. We need to move.
Honourable Speaker, thank you. Now that we are establishing levels of culpability, and that the Land Attorney General has committed to tabling a certificate and an amended pair of MEMAT, Memorandum of Articles of Association. Would you please give the Land Attorney General timeline, because they are available on his desk? It's a question of delivery.
So can we now go to committee stage as I give him a timeline when we report back after recess? A week after we report back after recess. Yes, Asuman?
I'll be moving a motion, but before that, Learned Attorney General and the Executive, there is a bigger issue regarding Rule 220 of our Rules of Procedure. Parliamentary resolutions and actions taken. So often a time we sit here, resolutions are made, little is done on your part to ensure that Rule 220 is effected. Action points. Right, Honourable Speaker, we will not be in this conundrum if our colleagues that side had taken that rule very seriously. That aside, Right, Honourable Speaker, now that we have listened to the discussions, I beg to move that we move to committee stage and discuss this issue at that level.
Is it seconded? Seconded by Finance, James, Idi, Akamba, Awasi, Militon, Amero, Eva, Honorable Segrinya, you're most welcome. Semakula, Kawalia, Dr. Anifa, my royal guards here, Museveni, Alan. I now put a question that the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2023 be read the second time. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
The Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2023, Bills Committee stage. Clause 1.
I put a question that Clause 1 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 2.
I put a question that Clause 2 stands part of the bill. Those in favor say and the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Schedule.
Honorable Esther, I only need your eyes, not speaking in the House.
Madam Chair and honorable members, I propose an amendment on the schedule under the current expenditure. 1, vote 009, Ministry of Internal Affairs, replace 2018/2019 with 2020/2021/2022. Number 2, vote 010, Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industries and Fisheries, replace 2018/2019 with 2021/2022. Vote 205, Uganda High Commission in Egypt, Cairo, replace 2018/2019 with 2021/2022. Justification is to correct an error in the narration of the expenditure, which indicates in the proposed bill as 2018/2019, whereas the expenditure relates to financial 2021/2022.
Thank you. I hope the 218/219 was not intentional. I hope you're not using it to clear your books.
Madam Chair, this is a straightforward error, and I agree with the committee.
But I also need a response from you. Was it a genuine typo?
Madam Chair, this was a genuine typo, and I want to thank the committee for correcting it.
Thank you. Yes.
Madam Chair, I would like to move an amendment under vote 015 to reduce a sum of 108 billion shillings appropriated in supplementary amount required for the first, second, third, and fourth quarters of the financial year 2021-2022 for recurrent expenditure on salaries and expenses under the Ministry of Trade, Industry, and Cooperatives. The justification is to exclude the 108 billion that was fraudulently expended by the ministry on a non-approved item by Parliament.
Honorable members, we had already agreed on a position on that. And why are we going back to the same? Honorable members, I put a question that we amend the schedule as proposed by the chair. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
The schedule as amended.
The schedule as amended. I put a question that the schedule as amended starts part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Title.
Title, I put a question that the title stands part of the bill. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Motion for resumption of the House.
Right Honorable Chair, I beg to move that the House do resume and the committee of the whole House reports thereto.
I put a question that the House does resume and the committee of the whole House reports thereto. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Report of the Committee of the Whole House.
Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, I beg to report that the House has considered the bill entitled the Supplementary Appropriations Bill 2023 and passed it with no amendments.
With amendment.
And passed it with amendments.
Motion for adoption of the report of the Committee of the Whole House.
Honorable.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move a motion that the report from the Committee of the Whole House be adopted.
I put a question that the House adopts the report of the Committee of the Whole House. Those in favor say on the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Bill's third reading, the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2023.
Honorable Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, I'm moving under Rule 138 to move a motion for recommittal of the bill. And Madam Speaker, before you put the question to that, I draw your attention to Article 88 and Rule number 24, which requires you to ascertain that this House is properly constituted to take a vote. So I beg now to move a motion that vote 1015 Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives be recommitted, as I will propose, to reduce the sum by amount of 108 billion shillings. I beg to move.
Vote what?
The amount is Uganda shillings
ebikolwa by'okuzaayo abaana mu masomero tebiteekwa kukaluubiriza n'akatono. Eno kusimba nnyiriri mpanvu kano kalippagano ka bidduka. Simanyi kuzunga na banka siripusi? Kati osobola okusasula school fees z'omwana wo ate n'okola n'ebirala ntoko ku ssimu ye ey'omu ngalo. Ekikola kyangu nnyo. Nyiga bunyizi *185*8 ogoberera ebikulagiriddwa oba okozese app ya MTN Momo. Ate kati okola ki olwaleero? MTN Mobile Money Uganda Limited erungamizibwa banka enkulu eya Uganda.
This isn't just a girl. She is the future. This is a teacher, a doctor, a community leader, our future president.
She is the future of Uganda. And as a policy maker, the policies I enact today will protect her from child marriage and teenage pregnancy. We each have a role to play in empowering our teenage girls to protect them from child marriage and teenage pregnancy. Because when we empower them, we empower our nation. Protect the girl, save the nation.
Take action. Report any case of defilement or child marriage to the police or call Sawuti 116.
Kato, this is a quick call. I'm almost out of minutes. Now, the center.
Why rush through such important conversations? Airtel Uganda has made it possible for you to call across all networks in Uganda at the best rates with the new Bona voice bundles. Stay connected anytime, anywhere, with minutes valid for calls on all networks. Dial *100*1#. Select voice bundles and select Bona voice bundles today. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Uganda is rich in natural resources and hard-working people. But to turn these resources into real progress and development, we need to invest in our infrastructure, education, and healthcare. That's where taxes come in. When we pay our taxes, we are investing in our country's future. We are supporting the schools that educate our children, the hospitals that care for our families, and the roads and bridges that connect our communities.
And when businesses pay their taxes, they are contributing to the growth and development of Uganda's economy. They are helping to build a stronger, more prosperous nation for us all.
So when you pay your taxes, you are investing in the future of Uganda and supporting the progress and development of our nation. Uganda is because of you.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
Glow as you are with the new Spark 10 series smartphone from Airtel in partnership with Tecno. Own the timelines with picture-perfect selfies using the 32-megapixel selfie camera, 256 GB storage, G88 gaming processor, and a strong battery to last the whole day. Towakana.
The Spark 10 smartphone comes with free 3 GB from Airtel and 100% bonus on weekly and monthly bundles every month for 3 months. So you can stay connected to a world of possibilities. Dial *100*5# to enjoy free data. The new Spark 10 is available in all selected Tecno shops countrywide. Airtel, the smartphone network in partnership with Tecno. Stop at nothing.
The Resol Agribusiness Show is here under the theme Revolutionizing Agriculture through Value Addition, Innovation and Technology, scheduled for 13th to 16th June 2023 at Ohinga Stadium for Portro Tourism City with a free medical camp running throughout the show. Entrance is totally free. To sponsor, partner and participate, contact 0702-301-059 or 0773-458-492 or 0773-301-059.
Jerry Con! Hey, Master Blaster! Touch him, man! Bang Jerry Con with muscle! Those ones who say go for you only. Mundaba! First group is I teach you. But never come up with the muscari because of the cover that is very far. Is you serious? It's just you. What? Yeah? You step it on it. Add kilometers to your legs and you get your sugar. We buy milk from Umaru and Umaru refuse to give you enough meat. show him that they don't joke with you.
okukakaluka n'okulungi kwetaagako omuntu akuyambako n'olwekyo tujja kukuteerawo embeera esaanidde osobole okukola ekisinga awamu tere kitulema.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.